Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about why driving feels so much safer than flying. It's a psychology no one talks about. Did you know that you are far more likely to die while driving to the airport than on the flight itself? Yet almost everyone feels safer behind the wheel. Statistically speaking, driving has a fatality rate that's hundreds of times higher per mile than commercial flying. I'm Captain Paul, a 50-year pilot, and today I want to explain why this feeling is far from the truth. Control and the cockpit illusion, it all starts with control. In your car, you feel like you're the captain in complete control at all times, except for the crazy people you see on the highway from time to time. Okay, you can see the road, you can check your mirrors, you can feel the pedals under your feet. Since you're on the ground, you know intuitively that you can pull over at any moment and come to a complete stop on your own terms. That sense of control sends a powerful I'm safe signal to your nervous system, even when real-world statistics say otherwise. On an airliner, for example, the opposite happens when you're a passenger. Think about it. You enter through the plane's forward door, you step into this metal tube, then walk down a narrow aisle to find your assigned seat, which is probably too small for most average-sized adults because the seats are so small. And you're jammed up with people all around you, and you've got no space to really move around. You're kind of trapped. So you buckle up your seatbelt, you listen to the safety brief given by the flight attendants, either in person or on a video screen, in case something goes wrong on the ground or in the air. Yes, it's a little different. I can't think of a case where supplemental oxygen would suddenly be needed for an emergency while driving on the highway, let alone the need to don a life vest in case you drive for some reason into deep water. That rarely happens. Add to that, the people flying this technological marvel are behind a locked and impact-resistant cockpit door, never to be seen oftentimes until after you've landed and you're getting off the plane. So yes, there are a lot of unknowns to the average passenger. Your brain quietly tells you, I'm trapped, and strangers are in charge or in control of my life. But nothing about the actual risk has really changed. But in your mind, your perception of control between driving and flying is flipped from 100% down to the single digits, maybe down to zero. Here's the paradox. In a car, most drivers are operating a 2-ton vehicle with no co-pilot, no dispatcher watching the route, no maintenance crew checking the engines, along with various aircraft systems before every flight. In an airliner, there's a lot more going on. You have 2 or more highly trained pilots fully prepared for the mission to safely get you from point A to point B. You got mechanics on the ground who check the airplane before you ever got on. You got air traffic control watching us on the ground and keeping track of us on radar when we're up in the sky. Okay, add to those additional layers of backup systems that are there. They're hidden from view, and they're designed precisely to take over when something goes wrong. Okay, passengers never hear about this. This is not on the news. It's not sexy enough. But now let's talk about what altitude does to your primitive brain up here. Okay, humans evolved at ground level. We evolved at ground level. For most of human history, climbing like 30 or 40 feet and falling meant either serious injury or death. Your survival wiring learned, and it really is hardwired into your brain, that heights equal danger. And that wiring is still there, even if you understand modern physics. So when the airplane climbs to about 35,000 feet, nearly 6 miles straight up, your logical brain may know you're in a certified machine that's inspected and under watch all the time, but that ancient part of your brain is screaming, if I fall from here, I die. The shaking on takeoff, the feeling of the nose pitching up, the bumps in turbulence, those all confirm that old story your subconscious mind already believes. Now here's the reality. A modern airliner can lose an engine, lose pressurization, or fly through severe weather and still keep flying safely because of redundant systems and training of the crew. The airplane is built to handle far more than anything you'll see on a normal flight. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It only knows high equals scary. Okay. The next thing is the media. The media plays to this fear. Around the world, there are about 1.2 million people that die in road crashes every year. That's about one person every 26 seconds. Most of those tragedies never make national news, and you rarely see video of them. Now compare that to aviation. Commercial travel moves tens of millions of flights safely every year, with only a handful of fatal accidents worldwide. But when one airplane has an incident or an accident, it dominates the headlines. Social media is there, and you got documentaries, and they go for weeks. The flying environment is a dynamic one that always gets attention because it really represents what is called that man-machine interface. We intuitively look up when we hear a loud noise in the sky. Your brain also uses something called availability bias. If you can easily picture it, you think it happens a lot. Right at the moment, you can easily picture a plane crash, maybe in slow motion, a replay, with dramatic music and commentary, because that's what gets airtime. You probably can't picture the thousands of safe flights that landed just today, because those are boring and never shown. So your brain quietly updates its mental math and says, planes crash all the time. Roads are routine though, even though the statistics say the opposite. The real numbers tell us a different story. Okay, let's consider the reality. Over my career, I've done more than 10,000 takeoffs and landings in everything from little trainers to heavy jets. Serious incidents? Over half a century, I've had just a handful of really serious incidents. In terms of serious accidents, 0. Meanwhile, I've personally been in multiple car accidents just doing ordinary driving near my home over the years. And in those cases, the only thing I could have done to avoid those roadway accidents was to have not driven that day at all. I guess it's just bad luck. That experience matches the broader data. Cars produce far more deaths per mile than commercial flights, period. But my own mother was a perfect example of this paradox. She hated flying. She was nervous but composed whenever she flew. She always made a sandwich at home to eat on the plane that helped her calm down a bit. But on the highway, she was completely relaxed all the time. One day I sat her down and I walked her through the numbers. Okay, and I told her lifetime odds of dying in a car crash were about 1 in 95, while the odds of dying in a commercial aviation accident were millions to 1. I told her, this, you got a better chance of winning the lottery twice and seeing a giraffe and a kangaroo on this New York subway than dying in a plane crash. That finally clicked, and her fear started to shrink a bit. There have been even years with 0 passenger fatalities on large commercial jets worldwide. Despite tens of millions of flights, road travel has never had a year with 0 deaths. It claims over 1 million lives every single year. We already went over that. Okay, the control myth and your next flight, let's talk about that. Let's come back to control, because this is where nervous flyers get stuck. Yes, you can steer your car, you can press the brakes, choose the route, but you cannot control the drunk driver swerving into your lane, a texting teenager blowing through a red light, a tire that suddenly fails at high speed, or an animal that darts out and jumps into the road at night. All that risk is invisible until it's too late. On an airliner, you are handing control to people who train for emergencies constantly. Airline pilots log simulator sessions where engines fail, instruments malfunction, and worst-case scenarios are practiced over and over and over again. The airplane itself is built with multiple backup systems, and the entire flight is monitored by air traffic controllers, dispatchers, and maintenance teams. You may feel out of control, but in reality, you're really wrapped in layers of safety that simply do not exist on the highway. Your drive to the airport is statistically the most dangerous part of the entire trip. Once you walk down that jet bridge and sit in your seat, you have already left the riskiest environment behind and stepped into the safest part of your journey on the plane itself. But fear doesn't always listen to statistics like this, but understanding why your brain reacts this way is the first step to calming it down. When you notice that tight feeling in your chest or sweaty palms before flight, just remind yourself, my brain is reacting to a loss of control, height, and scary news stories, not the actual risk. So if this perspective has helped you, I hope so, why don't you download the free Nervous Flyers guide that I've made? It's linked below here. It breaks down each phase of flight in simple language. You can review it before your next travel. For takeoff anxiety specifically, check out the audio guide that I made that walks you through every sound and sensation during climb so your brain doesn't have to guess. Your feelings are completely normal, but the facts are quietly on your side every single time you fly. Let me know if there's something else you're curious about from a pilot's perspective. Take care, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.